Hello y'all, I'm Pluto the Fool, and today I want to talk about Deltarune again. I know I said I wouldn't, but I can't help myself, sorry. Anyway, Chapter 3 and 4 are now about as close as I am to losing my mind, so I wanted to go over everything we definitively 100% know. No theories, no headcanons, and as little assumption as I can possibly make. Just completely confirmed information to get you prepared for Chapter 3. I'm doing this because I think it's important to, at least occasionally, step back from the writhing imaginative theory crafting, and look at what we know for sure. Now, of course, all of this is subject to change. I'll try to stay away from assumptions, especially my own, in order to keep this video as factual as possible. I will also probably miss a ton of things because my brain is small and I forget things a lot. Last thing to note, the only thing outside of the game itself that I'll bring up is some things from the sweepstakes ARGs. This is due to Toby Fox blessing me in particular with the knowledge that he only considers what's in the game to be canon. As much as I would love to talk shit and laugh for the next 7 days about that, that isn't the main point of this video and I am obligated to be nice. Without further fluff to make the video longer, let's get started. The Prophecy. The prophecy is told to us by Ralsei, who tells us that when light and dark get in balance, an apocalypse will occur. This apocalypse, as we later learn, is the Roaring. The Roaring will cause titans to appear, make darkners turn to stone, and cause the lightners to be lost. Connected to this event is the Angel's Heaven, though we aren't exactly sure how yet. The Delta Warriors are a human, Chris, a monster, Susie, and a Prince of the Dark, Ralsei, and are tasked with banishing the Angel's Heaven. The Angel. We don't know much about it. It's likely some kind of god, as at least some Lightners worship it. I say at least some, as Alvin mentions that the Angel's religion doesn't have sin, implying the existence of other religions in the light world. We don't know what the Angel's plan is, who or what it is, or exactly why the Angel's Heaven has to be closed. However, it's implied to be a malevolent force, given that the Angel's Heaven seems to be a bad thing. This may be proven wrong in the future. The Knight. The Knight, called the Roaring Knight by Queen and a Strange Knight by Sham, is a mysterious person who is intent on opening dark fountains for an unknown reason. It's possible they serve the angel, though it's also possible that they are simply doing similar things at the same time. We don't know what the knight looks like, nor who they actually are. We do know that Queen probably never met them, and that King may have met them, though we don't know for sure. The knight, interestingly, has not been mentioned by the prophecy. The knight is also mentioned by both Jevil and Spamton, with Jevil saying that the knight's hand is moving forward, which kind of implies that the knight may have been in the middle of making the Cyberworld fountain, while the Delta Warriors fought Jevil. Though this is not confirmed, there's plenty against it, it's just a neat idea. Anyway, Spamton also mentions the knight, but is cut off. It's possible that this is because the Knight is hiding information about itself. It's currently not known if the Knight is a Lightner or a Darkner. At least it hasn't been directly confirmed either way. However, King notably despises Lightners, but worships and serves the Knight, who put him into power. This lends credence to the idea of the Knight being a Darkner, though we cannot say for sure. The Knight could also be a secret third thing. Who knows? Dark Fountains / Worlds. Despite being most of the game so far, we don't really know how Dark Fountains work. It's kind of contradictory at times and definitely paradoxical, as it seems that Dark Fountains create the worlds, but also that they are simply openings to the worlds. There's evidence for the idea of Last Thursdayism, but also evidence that the Dark Worlds have always existed. However, given that Spamton knows about Tenna, who seemingly doesn't exist yet, it's slightly more likely that the Dark Worlds exist at least in some form before the Dark Fountains are created. A Dark Fountain can also be opened within a Dark World, which apparently brings the Roaring. It's unknown, though possible, if a Darkner can create a Dark Fountain, though it's possible that only a powerful one could. Not confirmed, just a possibility. We know that the Knight created the Card Kingdom in Cyberworld, and that Chris makes the Chapter 3 Dark World. We don't know who made the Grand Fountain, if anyone, and we don't know if it was always in the school closet or if it simply manifested some kind of opening there to let Chris and Susie in. We also don't know why Chris makes the fountain in Chapter 3 as much as people generally think that they do. The light world. Funnily enough, we don't know really anything about how the light world works. It's possible it simply works on different rules than the dark worlds do, so it is just like our world, but with more furries. Though it's also possible that there's a light fountain somewhere. Although there's nothing pointing to this idea, I think it's the sun. Just as a silly headcanon, though, I don't think it's going to be important. Chris. I'm going to be very careful talking about this. Chris is a human, and is, according to Ralsei at least, the only one who can close dark fountains. Whether this is due to their soul, the fact that they're human, or some other thing, is currently unknown. Chris used to be a prankster as a kid and was friends with Noelle. They seem to be cool with their brother Asriel as well. They were also adopted into the Screamer household likely at a very young age, and are the only human in hometown. They seem to be scared of the bunker, though we don't know exactly why. They are also quieter by the time the game starts. And they seem a lot more angsty, depressed, apathetic. We don't actually know. They're generally just quiet, and have been quiet at least long enough for people to get used to it. They also don't appear to be fond of their own soul, and have the ability to tear it out momentarily, causing them to walk around slowly and do more nefarious acts. Eating the pie, slashing tires, creating the fountain, small pranks like that. We don't know why they do this, how they do this, or what it actually does. There are plenty of theories, but nothing is confirmed. They also eat moss, which is the most vital aspect of the character, of course. Susie. Susie is a monster, and also the school bully. She scares almost everyone at school except Chris and Torio. She is generally mean at first, but softens up a bit after Chapter 1. She seems pretty conflicted about her feelings towards others, but appears intent on being a better and somewhat nicer person. She also doesn't seem to like her parents very much, though we don't know why yet. Susie actually doesn't have that much info that's really relevant right now, though it's very likely that she'll have something more substantial soon. Ralsei, my boy. Ralsei is the Prince of Darkness. He is the sole ruler of Castletown, the town that surrounds the Grand Fountain. It's unknown what Ralsei actually is, though, and it's never brought into question in-game. It's possible that he is a creation of pure darkness, which would explain how Ralsei can move between dark worlds so easily, and also why he can stay in them. Although it's a compelling idea, and the one I personally believe, it isn't confirmed. Ralsei could also be Chris's old headband, he could be a clump of moss, a crayon, anything really. We can't know for sure, and it doesn't seem to be important just yet. Ralsei is very kind and caring, often assuming the best out of everyone, even to his own detriment. He mostly wants to follow the prophecy as best he can, but seems to have trouble understanding that others might not follow their exact roles, causing him to question his own and wonder how to be his own person. He also seems to like Chris in particular, often favoring them and letting them get away with basically anything. Whether this liking is romantic or platonic is up for debate. Debate which will not happen in my comment section. Noelle. Noelle is quite interesting, as she's in the main cast but isn't a Delta warrior. At least as far as we know. Also, for like a million other reasons, but they aren't technically confirmed, so I can't mention them here as much as I really wish I could. Anyway, Noelle is a kind and sweet girl who's a bit shy and easily scared, often avoiding confrontation with anyone. She's a fan of the game Dragon Blazers, and has made almost direct contact with Spamton in the past. She's a fan of horror movies, and seems to have a knack for breaking games and finding glitches and weird things. This has implications, but nothing is confirmed yet. She learns to be more assertive in Chapter 2, and was also Chris's childhood friend. She also is the one who kills people in the weird route under Chris's command. I know that there's the idea that it's the player's command, but again, not confirmed, could be either one. Doesn't mean it's not true, just not confirmed, and I have to mention that. She has some connections to the angel, but it's definitely possible that this is simply symbolic and or metaphorical. She also likes Susie. Whether this liking is romantic or platonic is not up for debate, we all know the answer. Yes, she's missing. That's about it. She's Noelle's sister. She seems pretty nice. She's protective. She was friends with Chris and Asriel too, and is the reason Noelle likes horror movies. The main thing with her right now is that she's missing. Or dead, but missing is much more likely. We don't know where she is specifically, but the sweepstakes seconding ARG, which is an insane thing to say and be serious about, but whatever, mentions lost where the forest would grow. This is likely referring to Des, implying she got lost in the woods. Although, given that it says where the forest would grow, she might have been lost before the forest showed up around hometown. Although, every cell in my body is screaming that she's in the bunker, that isn't confirmed yet and is just a likely theory. Other than that, we don't know much yet, and will likely learn more in Chapter 4. The others. Listen, I'm not going to get into every single character in this video. I'm on a very tight schedule, and most of it isn't really important anyway. I'll get into a few more. I just wanted to mention this real quick. Moving on. Jebel. Jebel is locked away after meeting a strange man who told him something that drove him insane. He seems to somewhat know Queen, and also might know the Knight in some way, though we don't know for sure. He has a general theme of freedom and chaos, taking the more positive side of your choices not mattering in this world. Spampton. Once in Addison, Spampton used to be Big Shot. His business going from a failure with spamming email to a thriving enterprise. This was due to his contact with someone, presumed to be the same guy who spoke to Jebel. After the strange man left to get some milk, Spampton's business failed. He also knows the Knight and is cut off when talking about them. He also knows a guy named Mike, who Tenna, the presumed main antagonist of Chapter 3, did/wants to do something bad to. Spampton also has a motif for freedom, and wants to take Chris's soul to achieve it, possibly implying that Chris is the only one that's truly free, at least in Spampton's eyes. There's nothing confirming this though, of course. Spampton takes the more negative side of your choices not mattering. He also takes over Queen's Mansion in the weird route, and he likes Noelle because she opened his email. Onion-san. Okay, hear me out here. Onion-san mentions the ocean a lot and can hear a song coming from it. This is interesting, due to the weird connections between darkness and the ocean. I bring this up to lead into exactly that. The ocean. The ocean, more specifically water, seems to be symbolic of darkness. The fountains are also called geysers, with both being water-based. Many darkness-related things using the image of the ocean as a texture. The depths seems to be darkness-related. Many things. Though nothing is definitive just yet, I believe this is an important thing to at least keep in mind. Another thing to keep in mind is the theme of freedom. There's a large motif of freedom and choice in this game, with conflicting opinions from characters on whether choice is important or not. It's likely this will play a massive role in the plot soon, though we don't know exactly how. And because I can't not mention them, the entity of Survey Program and the Eggman. The entity, who I call the Overseer because it's cooler, speaks to us when Chapter 1 starts. They connect us, or Chris, it's kind of unclear, to something. They'll say it's the game itself, but it could be anything, really. It could also be asking if they're connected as a way to ask if we can hear them, though, again, we don't know. They allow us, or Chris, I'm just gonna say us for simplicity's sake, to make a vessel. This vessel is then named and ultimately discarded. The Overseer, or another character, it's again unclear, then tells us that we cannot choose who we are before saying, "Your name is Chris," heavily implying that, unlike Undertale, we are Chris, rather than just guiding them like we did with Frisk, though this is extremely debatable and unconfirmed. As far as we know, we haven't heard from the Overseer again. They do speak in the save menu, but it's possible that this isn't meant to be canon and it's just cool flavor text. As for the Eggman, he is the main antagonist of Sonic the Hedgehog and was known... Sorry, wrong guy. He gives Chris 2 eggs, and that's it. There's many implications and theories. I even have my own cool ideas that I'd love to share. But since nothing is definitive yet, all we know is that the eggs themselves are not too important, not too unimportant. So, yeah. Now that we have all that sorted out, what now? Well, we wait. Most theorists are just gonna chill out till the chapters come out, me included. Though I want to make something clear. Please, just be respectful to each other. I often see people being extremely rude to anyone disagreeing with them. I've personally had this happen to me. It hasn't really stopped happening either. It's important to understand that our theories are just that, theories. As in, we don't know if they're right or wrong yet. A lot of people make assumptions about the game, then call anyone who disagrees stupid, saying their evidence is unfounded and telling them to change their stance. This happens about any time I mention my thoughts on Gaster, and some, not naming names, find it okay to be rude even when I'm being incredibly nice, or at least trying to be. This happens plenty to others too, directly or not. Usually it's people saying that people who don't believe in Gaster, or player control, or whatever, are blind and stupid and all that. And is that really necessary? Do you have to be such an ass about it? Even people who aren't being directly mean are still being pretty rude by just completely disregarding counter-evidence and opposing theories. Often this is done by saying that counter-evidence ignores the obvious. I especially find it hypocritical when people say this. They'll say things like this alongside telling others to be respectful. I've seen it happen at least once. Again, not naming names, you know who you are. I'm, of course, not immune to this. At all. I was a bit of an asshole about it in my Gaster video, and it took me a while for me to realize that I was part of the problem. I know I threw plenty of shade in this video, but I meant it in good faith and in good fun. I don't think anyone is wrong yet, nor do I think I'm right yet. Anything can change. Anything can happen. Anyone could be wrong. All I ask is that we be respectful about it. That's what Toby likely wants from us. For those making comments, that does include you. Please be nice. With all that out of the way, I'm gonna go to sleep and wake up when the chapters release. Follow my blue sky, linked in the description, and see you next time.